Welcome, everybody. Hey, today we're going to talk about JOLT, high voltage recruiting. And I want to just, I want to start by introducing Cleve Gaddis and all of the Workman team, a bunch of the Workman team members who were big contributors to JOLT and have worked on this for the last couple of years, putting it together. This has been a true labor of love. We've reached out and we've researched some of the best attractors and recruiters in the country, and we've compiled this program called High Voltage Recruiting that is just phenomenal. It's, I would say, a flagship product for Workman Success System, and we've run the entire program under the direction of Master Coach Cleve Gaddis. And Cleve has been very much not just involved, but he has been in the weeds and the details in working with our team in making sure the way that we think about recruiting and attraction is different, and opening up our eyes to a whole different way of approaching everything from exploratory sessions to how we're attracting people and how do you actually become attractive. And so, Cleve, thank you for all your work on JOLT. I'm excited to have you here with us today. I'm Verl Workman, CEO of Workman Success Systems. We got a great group and a great team today, and we have way more to cover in an hour than we have time for. So, Cleve, let's just get into it. Let's talk about I want to start by just kind of asking you what the vision was behind JOLT. And did you see my lightning bolt in the background right behind my head?
Yes, I noticed that. I love that. And I was thinking that I need one of those. Hint, hint. If somebody wants to ship one of those to Atlanta, I need one of those. But so, Verl, I don't know if anybody on the session today can relate to this, but many people in real estate, team leaders, real estate brokers, do a really flipping good job providing an environment in which people can be successful. The problem is they have a hard time communicating their value to the market. So they literally have something better than is all of their competitors. But the problem is the way they describe it, the way they explain it, the way the prospective agent recruit experiences it is not any different than it is if they go interview with anybody else. And so really we created this program to very simply be the ammunition, if you will, the catalyst, if you will, for those who really have something significant to offer, but they feel like their recruiting efforts fall significantly short. So it's for all you people who have great opportunities for other people, but have a hard time attracting people to it.
It's so true. And it's funny because I think that many brokers and many team leaders who are in recruiting and attraction, when I ask them what makes them unique or what makes them have an unfair competitive advantage or what do they do that's sustainable or different than everybody else, the primary answer that I hear is, well, they really get me and I love my people. And as good as you all are, I just want you to know everybody says that. Everybody says it. And so how do you really learn how to articulate the value of the services and the programs that you provide to potential agents so that they go, holy cow, I got to have that. That's what we're going to talk about today. So Cleve, let's just get into it. I'm going to share, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
And I'm going to show JOLT. So just a little bit of how you get through it. When you look at JOLT, you access it through the Workman Success Training Center. And when you come into Welcome to JOLT, there's always going to be a video. And then there's a video on how to navigate the program where we take you through all of the what to do and how to do of how to navigate the program. And then there are 5 different segments. And Cleve, talk about each of the 5 segments really quick. Connecting the power, standing up for the crowd, attraction, exploratory sessions, and keeping and launching.
Well, if you don't mind, I want to cover something even before that, and that is when you go to the how to navigate JOLT section, it'll actually teach you how to get the full transcripts of the videos. So the coolest thing is that when you're listening to a video and you're like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to say in my next interview, you can actually click on, it's one of the icons there. There you go, transcript right there. And it does a full transcript for you of the entire video. So you can copy and paste and use the scripts and hopefully really enhance your learning environment. But the way it is set up, Verl, very simply, is the first section is what do we need to do in order to hit our profit numbers? Everything in this session says to you, Aaron, if you need to make this much money, here's the activities you need to do. Here's the number of people you need to recruit over time. It starts with the value of an agent. So how much is, Christopher Collins, how much is an agent worth? in your office or on your team. And if you want to increase your profit by $200,000 over the next year or $1 million over the next year, what does that look like in terms of the numbers of agents? It talks to you about how to build trust. This is, and like when you say a calculator, it gives you very specific instructions. You answer a few simple questions in this calculator and boom, it spits out the number of agents. In this particular example, they need 9 new agents because you can tell they want to add 250,000 in revenue. And based on the gross profit or average revenue per agent, they know it'll take 9. And they know that each agent they add will add 142,857 in value yearly to the business. And that over the life of the agent, because they'll attract 2 new agents if you do it correctly, you'll generate 428,571 in revenue. We've got a sample P&L to help you if you don't exactly know how to fill everything out. We've got key financial terms examples just to kind of help people who might not understand the financial terms, how to use that calculator. But it is all about how many people do I need to recruit and what activities do I need to do in order to get there. There's a couple of other things. If I could mention, Burl, and this to me is one of the most exciting things, if you'll go down to CURE Determining Needs Framework, this is a new framework for asking questions and doing what we refer to as an exploratory session. We don't refer to them as an interview, and I think you'll see why once you dig into the program. Steve Chung, if you're interviewing people because you want to hire, we've determined based on our research that it's not really as much about what you provide them as it is what they may be missing. So if you do 5 different interviews or exploratory sessions, each one of those agents is unique and they have different holes in their business. They have different areas of weakness. And so this CURE Determining Needs framework is a very specific framework for how you ask questions to continue to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. Julie Timms, can you imagine if somebody came and sat down in front of you and every 5 minutes they felt like you saw them more and more and more, and you knew them and you understood their weaknesses? Can you imagine how easy it would be to offer them solutions that solve their problems? And then the reality is most of us, we've interviewed very, very differently. So Sarah Gouldy, I remember doing interviews, treating someone as if they would be lucky to come to work for me. And I could never figure out why nobody wanted to come to work for me. And it's because I had the wrong mindset. It wasn't about Alexa, what they needed. It wasn't about what they were missing. It was all about us and what we thought we could provide. And this flips that whole concept that we've used in the past. It just flips it right upside down.
So I like the acronym CURE is actually really cool because it's like really asking the right questions using emotional intelligence to find out what their current situation is and the way you phrase the questions. And then we get into understanding what the real deeper problem is. So we first ask the situation questions. What's your current situation? The U is understanding problem questions. The R is what's the impact of what's going on in your business and how's that impacting your life, the ramifications of the situation you're in. And unless you really understand how to pull that out of them, they won't articulate what the real problem is. And once you understand what the real problem is, then you can create the edification questions that then move them forward in the process. It's fascinating to watch someone who skillfully understands how to ask the questions in the CURE framework to take someone through during this exploratory session to find out really where they are and then how to move them forward.
And Verl, as a very, very powerful example, somebody that we were working on the CURE Determining Needs framework was asking questions about what's missing in your business. And there were several things that were missing in this agent's business, which is always the case. And when they got to the, okay, but what does that do to you? How does that affect you that you're missing these things in your business? This agent said, I can't afford to send my special needs child for the education and support that I don't remember if it was a he or she needs. And that is very, very powerful. And I'm not saying that we find that all the time, but people, when they don't do the right things professionally, when they're not growing their real estate career the way they want to grow, there are effects in their personal lives. And that's what that really digs into is how is what you're missing today, Tony, how is it affecting you negatively in your personal life? It's very powerful.
So the other thing is when you look at a frame, so I'm just going to click play right here so you can see what'll happen is when you get into Cure, we teach the concept on video. So you'll see Cleve or whoever. We have amazing guest presenters in this program. And then you'll see resources and tools. So if there's a resource or tool that's talked about in the video, we deliver it right here whenever you see that toolbox. And then right below that, there's operational excellence. And then focused recruiting activities are your money-making activities that get you from learning the concept to actually executing and doing the task. And so when we build a training program, we follow a philosophy of, okay, what is it we're trying to accomplish? How do we do it? Is there a tool or resource that's needed? Now go do it and show me that you did it. We have a very strong coaching mindset as to how we deliver and create content that's very different than how you see a lot of training out there. This isn't designed for getting you approved for CE credit. This is designed so that you can dominate in agent attraction and really grow your business and attract the right people to your company. At the end of each section,
Bro, let me just add one quick thing here because what I love about the way the resources are tied to each one of the videos is that you can learn a concept, Mary Lee, and you can quickly go in and download the exact questions that were being asked, have it in front of you on your desk, and the very next exploratory session or interview you're doing, you can use the exact same questions that were just used in the video. It is a very high leverage way to learn things and apply them very quickly in your business.
So that's excellent. So other things in this section, Cleve, you have unveiling the foundation, the 12 pillars of attraction. This segment is basically where we give this new concept called 12 pillars of attraction, and we give a brief overview of each of the 12 pillars of different ways that you can attract and go after and recruit people. Later on, we actually give you the details of each of the 12 pillars, but this is so you start thinking about what they are and you start getting your mind around it. And then we talk about the JOLT power tools. We've created an Ideal Leaders Week. Now, this is one of the more powerful tools that are in here. One of the things that when we named the program JOLT for high voltage recruiting, I want you to think about the name, the high voltage recruiting. The concept behind it was that most leaders will say that they have a pretty good recruiting program if they do it, but they don't actually find the time in their day to actually spend enough time doing the things that attract the agents. How many of you believe that you could spend more time doing actual attraction? And if you did, your businesses would grow as a result of that. Do y'all believe that you can invest more time with that? I see lots of heads nodding on that. And so what we did is we created an Ideal Leaders Week, which is a time blocking that allows you to understand how little or how much time you spend on attraction activities. This is very powerful. And then we take and we compare that with the daily habits of attraction. I'm going to give everybody a copy of this just for being on the call today. I'll give you a QR code that you can download this. But the daily success habits or the daily habits of attraction is designed so that you get 61 points a day doing recruiting or attraction activities. And so this is different than our daily success habits. This is very specific to attracting new agents to your brokerage or team or brand. And so we've built the tools inside the program that give you the daily habits of attraction. And there's so much more there. Creating your target list, creating your agent avatar. And the avatar is great because if I were to ask you, who is it that you want to attract? What does that avatar look like? Most brokers can't tell me, they can't articulate, and they haven't gotten really clear. And if you aren't clear on who it is you want to attract, then how do you become clear in the messaging to attract that person, Cleve?
And it's like, Burl, you love to fish. And if you're fishing for bass, you're using different kind of bait, different kind of lure than if you're fishing for something else. And if we don't understand very, very clearly who it is that we're trying to attract, then we can't help them see themselves in our messaging. When you think about it, Steve, if somebody is talking to you from a recruiting standpoint about things that resonate with you, about things that you might be missing, about struggles that you might be having, it is so important because then they see themselves in that message. And Tony McCurley, they can't even stand it. They've got to have a deeper conversation with you because they feel like you see them already. Very powerful.
It's so true. I'm going to go back and forth from the program. I want to make sure that our recording looks awesome.
Sure. Absolutely. 100%.
Here's detail number 3. Here's And so at the end of each section, I'm going to show you the end of the section. After you've created your avatar, understanding discs, understanding how to emotionally use emotional intelligence, words and phrasing in relationship to their profile, and understanding their behavioral style and how to communicate effectively with them. This kind of takes the interaction you have with individuals to a different level. The highest form of praise, or the highest way you can respect someone, is to change your style based on their behavioral style. And so they feel comfortable in the interaction. And we teach you how to do that in the program. And then at the very end of every section, I love this, there's a resources and tools of the section component where all of the tools are put into one place, and you can go in and download all the tools from the entire section, along with the operational excellence and the focused recruiting activities, or the FRAs, that we talk about through the program. So the whole idea is to give it to you in bite-sized chunks in 3 to 6 minute videos, give you the concept, the tool, the how, and then give you a summary of everything in one place so it's easy to have access to the things you want to download. Do you guys like the format of what I'm showing you so far, of how this is laid out? It's very different than we've done in the past. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that. I see heads nodding. Tell me in chat, yeah, bro, I love that. Can't wait to get it. That kind of stuff. Now let's go to standing out from the crowd, Cleve, because I think what you created, things like the Aruba concept and others, there's some really powerful new ways of looking at attraction here. Talk about, let's go into standing out from the crowd and what that really means.
So I'm really looking forward to doing that, but I want to cover one other little thing because it's really cool how all the sections work together. So Nancy Holzman, can you unmute Nancy Holzman? Can you? Oh, she's on. I don't think she can hear. How about Ellen Reese? Can you unmute? She said, sure, maybe I can. I don't know. Let's see here. No, maybe. Oh, there you go, Ellen. Hi, Ellen.
Well, hello, good afternoon.
Do you ever have to run recruiting ads?
I have been an agent selling real estate for 40 years, and I'm just now coming into the recruiting because I kind of wanted to back away from selling real estate, and the office wants me to get into this. So that's why I'm here.
Well, I can't even imagine why you'd want to back away from selling real estate in this easy breezy sailing time.
As we all know, it's just the opposite. But no, I love my office, and I didn't want to just retire from real estate. So
you know your office has something unique to provide, and you want to spread the word.
Absolutely, that's why I was there.
But someday you're going to have to write ads, and someday you're going to place these ads, and nobody's going to respond to the ads, and you're not going to necessarily always understand how to update your ad. Well, for those of you who remember seeing the tool, the agent avatar, that's where you describe your agent, and most specifically the personality types they have from the disc profiles, and also what they struggle with and what they don't like about their current brokerage. And Ellen, it is the coolest thing. So we get into section 4 of the program. It teaches you how to take that information that you created for your avatar, stick it into Chat GPT, and then Chat GPT writes the most beautiful ad that speaks directly to the people you're trying to recruit. It is amazing. It really is. So, Verl, if you don't mind, open that back up again, and let's go to session 2. Thank you, Ellen, for unmuting. Where are you dialing in from?
I'm with Remax Metro in St. Petersburg, Florida.
St. Petersburg, Florida. So in the
Beautiful place. If you haven't been there.
Yes, thank you. I have been there, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for working with us. The next section is, Burl, unshare your screen for just a minute. Unshare your screen for just a minute, because I got to be honest. When those of you who are going to go through the program, you're going to get to section 2, and you're going to listen to that first video, and you're going to be thinking, boring, boring. This is not exciting. But what's interesting is it teaches you how to finally get out and look at your competition to see what they're offering. Because in many cases, Aaron Fisher, the reason we can't message correctly is because we don't know what other messages they're hearing in the market. So we're not giving them anything different than they're getting before. So it teaches you how to understand your competition. It teaches you a new framework for describing the services and the systems and the tools that you provide in unique ways. because every brand, every brokerage, every independent has their own unique gifts to the world. The issue is they don't know how to describe them. So that whole section is not boring. It's probably the most important piece of the program because it teaches you, Tony McCurley, to message uniquely so that everybody who comes and sits down in front of you gets a very different feel. So first of all, you start by analyzing your competition through the competitor analysis, and it teaches you exactly what to do it and everything you want to know. And Brandon, do you do any recruiting? Can you unmute, Brandon?
I'm more on this for my father, Tim. He's holding a company meeting actually right now for buyer brokerage and stuff like that.
Perfect. So you're standing to give your hand.
So
I love that. I love that. So, but your firm recruits, is that correct?
I'm actually his son. He recruited me into this industry 3 years ago.
Okay.
This will be licensed 3 years. He's done coaching with Verl, and I'm currently going through the BAM and the listing agent and all that.
Awesome. Well, welcome, and I appreciate you being on today's session for sure. The more we know about our competition and the more your dad knows about his competition in that market area, the better conversations he can have with agents. So we have a competitor analysis. We have a new format called the Aruba process, which teaches you how to create unique messaging. You have an example of all of your resources and you describe why they're unique and why they're better. And then you give some emotionally intelligent actual benefits that are emotionally intelligent, and it is powerful. And what's so cool is as you fill out this spreadsheet, you get a score all the way to the far right-hand column, Verl, if you'll go over there. And the ones that get the highest scores are the ones you should talk about first, because those are the ones you are able to describe more uniquely than the other ones you're describing. It is so very powerful. And Verl, go back to the outline again. Then you have something that teaches you how to take your systems, your services, and your tools. A lot of people talk about their CRM and their websites and their document management systems. They talk about them like everybody has the same systems. But the reality is, even if you have the same systems as everybody else, you're teaching people how to use it in a unique way. And so it teaches you to take systems and services and tools that the messaging is typically very boring and create a unique name for it. So we just don't call it by its name. We call it something proprietary for our system. Tony McCurley, real quick, can you unmute for a second? When you're, hi, how are you?
I'm good.
When your firm in Houston trains people, do they use just a simple real estate training program, or do they have a program that has a unique name that might sound like something that is uniquely beneficial to somebody going through it?
So in our mentorship program, it's like Know and Grow. And we use
So think that you've already answered the question. It's fascinating. So for somebody who wants to come in and be developed, it's not a new agent training program. It's not the simple stuff that everybody provides. It's Know and Grow, and it is unique to your firm. So Brandon, if you wanted to get Know and Grow, the only place you can do it is at Tony's firm in Houston. They're the only ones that have it, and that's what makes it work. So you come up with a unique name. You very clearly describe the benefit, and then you learn how to use some emotionally intelligent messaging. And remember, when you use emotionally intelligent messaging, you're telling stories that allow someone to see themselves in your story. So that first example was about the amazing office space that this firm has, and it teaches them to describe the office space uniquely so that it's like, man, if I had this type of office space, I would be able to be successful as well.
I think when you come up with proprietary language, it makes people sit on the edge of their seat and say, well, so what is that? Tell me more about that, because they hadn't heard it before. And so if everything you say is the same, like you really use a CRM, everybody gets a CRM, is not exciting. And so how do you articulate what you have as an agent hub that allows you to have more contacts with your clients? And it's a referral program that generates more referrals. So how do you give it a name? We teach you how to actually name those things and give them different tools and resources. Let me go to the summary of tools and resources at the end of section 2. And so here's your summary, Cleve. You have the competitor analysis, the Aruba
Yep.
process, core
Yep.
values worksheet, how to hire and fire to your core values, the greatest salesman stuff, ways that we use it, the SST matrix. We didn't really talk about that. That's your systems, services, and tools,
That's
and
right.
how to articulate the difference between all of those, and then the operational excellence and focused recruiting activities. Let's get into attraction.
Hey, Verl, before we do that, let me ask you a question. What kind of car do you drive?
Well, I have a Ford F-250 and a
Okay.
Jeep and a Jeep.
Okay. And so tell me how those two cars do things differently than the other. So the reality is, when you think about it, your Ford truck gets you from here to there. And that Jeep gets your daughter from here to there, meaning the basic purpose of the tool, if you will, the car, is to get us from here to there without us having to walk or ride our bike.
Yep.
But they don't sell Fords the same way they sell Jeeps. Jeeps are designed to give a specific experience, and it's for people who want to get off road and explore the world and all of that kind of stuff. And that's what we're talking about when we're saying learning how to use unique language, learning how to take something, Hugo, that does the same things that a lot of people have tools and resources that will provide, but does it in a unique way. So people say, wow, if I want that, I need that. Because, Verl, there's probably a very specific reason that you drive a Ford, but a Ford works exactly the same way as a Chevy. They just
Except for the Chevy does not have seat massagers in the captain's chair. And
do.
so, as great as Chevy is, the Ford F-250 Tremor has seat massagers, and it's just sick, and it pulls the boat. So I'm just saying,
No, I
they're
love
not
it.
exactly the same.
But that's the perfect. They are exactly the same. They both have four wheels. They both get you from here to there. But you have bought the Kool-Aid that Ford is what you need. And that's exactly what we're trying to do from a real estate perspective, is say, man, if I don't go to work for Aaron Fisher, I'm not going to have a career if I don't go to work for Aaron Fisher, if that makes sense.
Yep. It totally makes sense. And I love the way you articulate that. Okay. So I want to get through I want to make sure we get through everything. So let's get into 12 pillars of attraction.
Let's do it. So people are probably wondering, what is the 12 pillars of attraction? Well, in some cases, in all cases, you need to recruit in more than one way. But for most of us, we're just kind of one-trick ponies, meaning we only know one way to recruit. I run ads, I do initial phone interviews, I do disc profiles, I meet them in person. We have one way to do it. And so these 12 pillars are 12 unique ways to fill your recruiting funnel. So, Jeff, if one is not working for you, you can switch to another filler. And we teach you the concept, Peter, of working 4 pillars of attraction. So if you want to, in our first example, it said we want to add 9 agents over the period of a year, then you can add 9 agents through each of 4 different pillars. And they are so cool. Now, before we jump into the pillars, we give you some very important power tools. We teach you how to identify at-risk or promising agents. Wouldn't it be cool to be able to look at your brokerage roster, ask yourself a few questions that have been pre-done for you, and determine, hey, this person is promising, so I need to put them on this plan of action. This person is at risk, so I need to put them on that plan of action. We teach you value. Go ahead, Burl. Do you have something you wanted to add?
No, I was going to wait till you're done, but go ahead and finish your sentence. We teach you value what?
Real quick, we teach you value-added recruiting, which is how do you serve and teach and train other people's agents just like you train your agents, so that when something goes wrong in their current world, you're the only one they're thinking of, and that is value-added recruiting. When you genuinely serve someone, regardless of whether or not you have the opportunity to do business with them, it is a powerful, powerful experience for people. We also we teach you a little bit about how to use Sisu and a very high-tech online database. We teach you all about the different ways of agent attraction. We teach you the success probability index, which would say, hey, Alexa, if you came to work for me, I could ask you some questions about your business, and I could predict with fairly good accuracy your chances of being successful long-term. We've got implementing ads that convert, creating emotionally intelligent ads that convert. So that's where I was telling you, Ellen, you take that agent avatar and you learn how to write emotionally intelligent ads that connect with people. And it's the coolest thing. You'll get less responses, but you'll get way more people who fit your profile. I had a person that was running ads that were getting 80 responses, and out of the 80, they wouldn't even have one person who had the requirements they were looking for to take the job. They started running these emotionally intelligent ads. They would only get 15 or 16 or 18 responses, but 6 of them would meet the criteria that they were looking for. Can you imagine the difference that would make? And then we go into our actual 12 pillars. And Verl, if you don't mind popping that back up again, and let me just walk through those pillars, because there's 12 different ways for you to feed your recruiting funnel. So if you'll go down to where it says pillar number one is an agent referral program. So Monica Fry, it gives you the specifics about how to put together an agent referral program on a brokerage level, including 3 different examples of the incentives you could offer to your agents. Might not be exactly right for your situation, but it's probably 80 or 90% of what you need in order to get started with a really powerful agent referral program. And if you don't think agent referral programs are effective, then look at the companies that have very, very strong agent referral programs. The next one you have is see 20 people. And see 20 people is all about seeing 20 people who already have a real estate license and adding to your database every single week. It is very powerful to give you all the tools. The third pillar is your top 50. So it's not your top 50 like it is for an individual real estate agent. It is the list of 50 agents that you would most likely to recruit in your market. And it teaches you how to have a very high level of interaction with this person, a meaningful personal interaction every single month, with the goal being to convert at least 20% of your top 50 list into recruits for your business every single year. It is so very powerful. If we go back to the pillars, I believe pillar 4 is always be recruiting. Verl, did you have something you wanted to add?
So much, but I'll just let you keep going through the 12.
No, keep going. Pop in there, please. The more the merrier.
Oh, well, so I was thinking about a couple of things that you breezed over really fast, and I'm gonna go backwards if I can.
Please.
One of the things is the success probability index. And I want you to think about your exploratory session when you're sitting down with an agent who you're looking to decide whether or not you're a good fit and whether or not you have the resources to be able to have them. Cleve talked about this, but the success probability index is one of the most powerful tools that you see in all of JOLT, because it allows us to go in and score all of their systems, all of their resources, and all of their tools. And so we score their CRM, their marketing, their lead management, their virtual real estate mastery, their transaction management, their business management, accounting. And as we go through and score all of those things, we then look and identify where the gaps are. So by identifying gaps, we're able to go in and give them specific things they can work on between now and our next meeting. So the idea and the concept of value-added recruiting is that we serve regardless of the opportunity, meaning we're going to sit down. I'm going to do the success probability index with you. We're going to look at the tools, systems, and tech you have in your business. And we believe that greatness is predictable, and so is average. And if you want to continue to get average results, you probably have to keep using the average adoption of the tools and resources you currently have. And the other thing it gives you the ability to do as a recruiter is it gives you the ability to identify where you might have gaps. And then in the training center, there's all of these different accesses. There's access to all of these different resources that will solve all the problems that you identify in that success probability index. We could spend an entire hour on just this and going through and teach you how to ask the questions and going through the systems and tools that are there. So I think that was something I didn't want to go over that quick. The other thing is,
what's so cool, Verl, is once you complete it, then the areas of weakness, they stick out like sore thumbs. They're so easy to see. And so, Ellen, you could be doing some interviews with somebody for another firm. They could come in, sit down with you. You could do the success probability index and actually give them, here's the 3 things you need to focus on. Here's some resources you need to use to help them get started. And can you imagine how top of mind you would be for them the next time their paycheck gets screwed up or they go to an office meeting that's boring or whatever? You're going to be the only person they're thinking about.
We're not going to go through each of the 12 pillars and show you all the 12 pillars. The concept is that there are 12 pillars of attraction, 12 different ways you can attract 100% of your goal. And what we teach in JOLT is that, and Cleve mentioned this, that you have to identify the 4 pillars that you're going to focus on, and you're going to work each one of those pillars as if it's the only thing you do. And I want you to think about that. It's kind of like shooting. You have four shots at the target. And by shooting 4 arrows, your likelihood of hitting your target is much higher than if you only shoot 1 arrow. And so we give you 12 pillars to choose from. You choose the 4, and in each of those, they have action plans and step-by-step processes on how to build those. We also show you how to develop your action plan with each of these 12 pillars of attraction. So, we can't do the whole program in this call. I wish we could, Cleve, right? And go through each of the 12 pillars like that. But this is a good, let me show you the summary of this, working with co-op agents, prior agents and clients, social media, new licensees, retiring agents. There's so many ways. But when I go down here, and how do you put it in automate? What are the ABCs of attraction?
Hey, Verl, I'm seeing your Zoom screen.
Oh, it's a cool screen, but not the one you want to see.
Yeah. I didn't know if I was the only one seeing that, but I wanted to mention it.
Sick. Okay, so now I want to go down to we get into launching your 4 pillars towards the end of this one. But when I get down to the tools or the summary tools and resources in this section, I want you to just take a pause for a minute and look at all of the tools and resources for your 12 pillars and all of the new things that are now available that have never been available not to workman coaching clients or to the general public. So these are new tools and resources that have been innovated and created specifically for the high voltage attraction program with JOLT.
And Verl, you mentioned just briefly the video launching your 4 pillars. Well, I don't know if you can find it on here where the launching your 4 pillars tool is. It's the second row. It's the second from the left. Nope, second from the left. Go one over to the right. It's the second row. There you go. So when you decide your 4 pillars, then you go through this video that teaches you how to launch your 4 pillars, and it gives you step-by-step action plans for how to do everything from creating your target list to placing your ad to doing the follow-up phone calls. And each one of those is different than the others because the way you fill your funnel is different. So you have it for networking, you have it for prior agents and clients, you have it for recruiting co-op agents. You've got specific action plans that say, Tony McCurley, you're going to be a recruiter. If you got these 4 pillars, then do these action plans. It really takes all of the guesswork out of what you need to be doing. Thank you, Verl.
No, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We could pick any one of these and get into it in great detail because there's so much. Like we just like holding successful events or understanding discs and the styles and the ABCs of how do you follow up with an agent? What phase of the attraction process are you in with them, and how often are you going to touch them based on are they an A, a B, or a C lead? And so we teach that concept as well.
Yep.
That's section 3. Section 4, let's get into exploratory sessions because I want you to talk a little bit about this. The exploratory session is different than a recruiting interview. How so?
The exploratory session is really all about taking the CURE determining needs framework and applying it in a very, very big way. So an exploratory session is, Verl, where you come in, sit down with me after a building relationship with trust phone call that we've had. And basically, I'm sitting down and I'm continuing to explore your business and your needs and where you're falling short, with the ultimate goal to be for me to help you find the 3 areas or the 4 areas that you need to focus on most. And at a minimum, me being able to give you some ideas as to how you can move forward. But the key here is if I can find 4 areas where you're weak, where you're missing something, and I have tools or systems or resources or unique value proposition, then I can connect what I provide with what you're missing. And it winds up being a perfect combination. So we teach you, first of all about how to build relationships with trust. And everybody probably thinks, I know how to build relationships with trust. But how many people totally trust you at the end of their interactions with you? And I know in my case, that number could be higher if I followed a very specific process. And so we teach you how to do that on phone calls, initial follow-up phone calls, and we teach you how to do that in in-person interviews. And Verl, we've got a whole different talk track for new agents versus experienced agents, a whole different set of questions that you ask in the exploratory sessions for newly licensed agents and for experienced agents. So you can take it and apply it with whoever your ideal agent is that you've described in your agent avatar. And then building relationships with trust. Review this one, Verl. You can nail it.
Well, just the whole concept of everything we do in attraction. We've created a new thing called the Wheel of Attraction. And the Wheel of Attraction is the methodology and the framework of how we do everything in JOLT. And as Cleve's talking about building relationships of trust, the BRT is at the center of our Wheel of Attraction. It's creating your target list, approach and greeting, identifying your 4 pillars, your needs analysis, exploratory sessions, how we offer real value during the attraction process, and then setting up a coffee or let's get together. And then once you've gone through the process with people, how do you make an offer to join so that they're so excited that you're actually making them an offer as opposed to trying to talk them into joining you. And then we get into what's next, following up with integrity, onboarding, and then, of course, how do you stay at the front of people's minds so that you follow up with them until they buy or tell you to die. Some people will never join you, but in the process, you're going to elevate the entire industry by helping other agents become better where they are just because of the sessions you have with them and that you're serving them and giving them ideas. And I think it's important that we talk about that because it's not just about do we recruit, it's about are we attracting people and really attracting people by elevating the industry. And I think that's a Cleveism that you talk about often, Cleve.
Hey, open that wheel of the wheel that you just had up there. I had somebody, I was showing this to them the other day, and they said, well, how is the follow-up with integrity different than the follow-up forever? And I thought, what a brilliant question. The follow-up with integrity is following up with the people you were trying to recruit. Following up forever is following up with the people you have already recruited, because those are 2 very different processes. And the reality is, Ellen, you've got to do the same things that you did to recruit them. You've got to do those things to keep them. And so we've got tools and resources for all of that. In fact, you'll see some of those in just a minute.
You know, when you talk about following up with integrity, I want you to think about this. How many times have you said, I'll get back to you on that, or I'll follow up in a couple months, and then you never do? And so what happens when you say you're going to do something, you don't do it, you lose integrity in the process. And so we teach you how to systematize your follow-up so that when you make a commitment to do something or to deliver something or to touch bases with them, that you follow up with the integrity and keep the promises that you make, even though they're small. And you're going to find that you do a better job than oftentimes their own brokers or team leaders do because they don't follow up with the integrity that we're talking about.
So true. So true.
All right, let's go back to exploratory sessions if we can for just a minute. Inside here, I think that one of the things that we do really well inside of the exploratory sessions is we give you the questions that you need to ask to have a really in-depth exploratory session with somebody. And it starts with the 7 questions that everybody must have really clear answers to. And there's 7 questions that if you're recruiting or you're in attraction and you don't have the ability to articulate the answers to these 7 questions, you're not even a player. You're not even in the game. And so these are the 7 questions. The previous session in the exploratory sessions, we give you an additional several hundred questions and questions to ask new agents, experienced agents, an additional 100 questions to ask new agents to really be able to dig deep. So
and if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I could never ask that many questions, that's not what it's for. So the initial questions give you 5 or 6 or 7 that you should start with. And then maybe you pick another 4 or 5 out of the additional 100 resources. And those 7 must-know questions are questions that the interviewee, the agent you're trying to recruit, questions they're going to ask you as a team leader or a broker. And you really have to have, and I know a lot of people don't like scripts, but you have to have a script for answering those questions. You have to get better and better and better at answering those questions over time.
Jeff asked a great question. And Jeff, your question was, how does JOLT help you with the specific steps to go from the approach and greeting and initial interaction to how do we sit down and have an exploratory session? So Cleve, how does JOLT help you go and move people forward in the process?
So the reality is it's really the BRT phone call. So you have creating these lead funnels, which are your 12 pillars. And then you're having these initial follow-up phone conversations that end with, hey, Jeff, I don't even know if this is something that you were interested in at this point, but based on what I've learned about you, we probably should explore what it might look like for you to join our firm, join our team, join whatever. Why don't we come in and have a face-to-face exploratory session? Or you could do it over Zoom as well. So the BRT phone calls are the ones that help you make that transition to get the face-to-face interview. Did that answer your question, Jeff, or do you have more you'd like to know? Unmute if you want to.
Let me let me add one thing to that if I can, Jeff, and that is that when you have this attitude that you're going to give them something of value, whether they join you or not, it makes it really easy to set the appointment. And so in the value-added recruiting section, we talk about delivering something that will help them in their life or their business, whether they join or not. And why don't we just have coffee, and I'm going to give you how we're messaging to the market today in relationship to the class action lawsuit, or I want to give you a tool or a resource that you've never had access to before that will help you determine whether or not it makes sense for you to upgrade your CRM. And so you can give them resources and value without even having a recruiting conversation. And so the concept behind what we're doing in JOLT is we want you to serve the industry regardless of whether or not they join. And when you have the attitude that I'm just here to help, people will meet with you. When they think every time you call them, you're trying to talk them into leaving their broker and coming to you, then they're going to avoid your conversations and your text messages and your interactions. And so in everything that you do, I want you to think about, let's see where you are and let's see if I can give you value. And if the answer is yes to that, it's great. And if you want to talk about what it looks like to be with me, great. And if you don't, that's okay too. The idea is constantly giving value. And when you do that, it just takes all the pressure off of you to ask closing questions. Like the whole concept of the old school salesperson where we're overcoming objections and resolving concerns and asking closing questions. I don't know of a consumer today that responds positively to that style. And so we've taken all of the selling out of it and we've talked about being attractive. Jeff, I don't know if you've been in the dating game, but I've been married 37 years, so I've never had to swipe right or swipe left on an app. But the whole concept of attraction is when I think about what works and what doesn't work, I think about being so attractive that somebody swipes right on your profile because you've continued to serve them and you've continued to give value. And so they're interested by swiping right. That's how I want your brokerage and team to be. I want you to be so attractive that people swipe right as opposed to dang, nope, swipe left. Is that a good example? Is that helpful? Cleve, you're muted. Cleve, I can't hear you. Can you hear Cleve? Like you're not muted on Zoom, but your mic went off for some reason. So the Zoom wasn't muted. You must have said something brilliant though, because your animation was so strong.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah.
I don't know what happened. I guess I've got this fancy mic and it just went off. What I was saying is you've got to look at recruiting as a two-step process. The first step is to get the person to let down their guard. And Jeff, unmute for just a second, if you will.
All right.
Does anybody ever try to recruit you?
Yes.
And do you just immediately call them all back and have a good conversation with them and tell them how much you appreciate them reaching out to you?
If they've given me a positive experience, then I want to talk to them and try to hire them.
So think about that for just a second. If they've given you something that is added to your life, you are way more likely to have a conversation with them. And that's all we're talking about is earning the right for people to interact with you. We even teach you this concept of as you're doing your recruiting, as people request tools and resources and stuff like that, you change them to a different category in your database. So they go from your target list database to your connected target list database. And then think about that. Once you've got those two-way conversations back and forth, Jeff, anytime you pick up the phone and call them, it's likely that they will answer and have a conversation with you because they've let their guard down.
And the only way I know how to do that today is to serve. Like that whole concept is we just serve. It's such a cool, like, tell me that doesn't make you feel better, Aaron, thinking about you don't have to sell. All you have to do is connect with people and see how you can help them. And if there's a way for you to help them, let's have lunch. And then we're going to give you the tools and the dialogue and what to do when you actually sit with them to move them forward in the process. And you're going to connect with and build great relationships with people that never join your firm. And you're going to develop great relationships with people that do. And even others that refer to you because you're the only person that's given them great experiences. And that's the whole key to high voltage attraction. And that's why we call it attraction and not recruiting. I'm going to go back to share my screen and let's share you a couple of things here. I got to show you how to get this. Okay, so let me go down to the end of the attraction process. Let me go down to tools and resources. Here's the tools and resources in section 4. Whoops. my sticky fingers. Are you seeing my screen okay, Cleve?
Yes, yes.
And so it's BRT phone questions, experienced agent questions, new agent questions, the 7 must-know questions, the extra couple hundred questions, 10 recruiting objections and responses checklist, the job offer or the offer template. We've got the easy move checklist. When they say, let's go, we've created the here's how to make your move easy and how to move with integrity. We don't burn bridges in the process. 20 things to consider as you're thinking about making a move, whether you join me or somebody else. Customizing your easy move checklist, and then of course, operational excellence and focused recruiting activities to go out and actually implement and do the work. And then we get into 5, and that's launching and keeping. People spend a lot of time going after new recruits, and they don't, and once they join their brokerage or firm or their team, they don't spend enough time keeping them. And it takes a lot more effort to go out and find new people than it does just keep your people here. And so just like we teach you how to look for at-risk and promising agents externally, we teach you to look for at-risk and promising agents internally, because you have agents right now in your companies that are at risk of leaving, but you don't even pay attention to the things you need to look for and what are the signs. And so we teach you how to do that in this section.
And Burl, one of the coolest things, if I were seeing this for the first time, I might, and Jeff, you give me a thumbs up if you agree with this, think, whoa, this is a lot. I'm not sure I can even get through all of this. This is a ton of content. But the course was designed so that you could go into any section and watch one video, and you could immediately make changes in your business just from that one video. So, Ellen, it'd be great for you to go through the whole program, but if you just said, let me go through a couple of things so I can describe myself differently from my competitors, and you go through those exercises, your interviews would be different that afternoon as soon as you were finished going through that. So we want you to go through the whole thing, but it gives you 3 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe maximum 7, 8 minutes video with all the tools and resources so you can get started right away. This stuff, by the way, is so valuable. We've got an MVP program which tells you what to do to take care of agents over time. You've got agent business development packets. You got instructions on retaining the way you recruit. You've got press release templates. You've got new agent intake forms. You teach them how to do a getting to know the office tour where they come in and get to know everybody, and you celebrate them. You make a big splash in the market when somebody joins you. And then we even talk to you just a little bit about how you develop people as leaders. One of the things that's so interesting, and Jeff, I'll use you as an example, is if you recruit an agent and your only job is to keep that agent forever, in many cases you wind up losing them because they see a bigger future for themselves. And you have to help people grow. Those who want to grow, you have to help them grow within your organization. And so it talks a lot about that in the leadership development section. So it gives you basically every flavor of everything you need to do in order to recruit. And so if anybody has any problems messaging, meaning I've got something good to offer, but I can't get anybody to accept what it is I'm offering, going through this program will solve that problem.
You know, people ask us what makes this different. I would say that what makes this program different is there hasn't been a really great recruiting program launched in real estate in 15 years. Like, I have not seen anything new or innovative coming out in recruiting for recruiting and attraction. And so we've taken the best things that we know and the best recruiters, we put them into this JOLT program, and we've delivered something in a way using current technology and systems, emotional and artificial intelligence to help you be better at it and put your attraction on steroids. Give it a lightning bolt, give it a shock, give it a defibrillator of creating something great. I was thinking about, Sweet Home Alabama. You remember that movie, Cleve, with Reese Witherspoon? And yes. When she goes back to Alabama, she goes out there and he's out there putting lightning rods in the sand. And when the lightning hits the lightning rod, it turns into something beautiful. And that's exactly what JOLT is designed to do. It's a lightning rod that turns into something beautiful when it's put in properly. So these are all the tools and the resources. Let me give you, let me share my screen with you and show you how to get it. So here's how you sign up for JOLT. So grab a picture, grab the QR code and just do a quick screenshot of the QR code. We'll also put it in the link. And then I'd like to open up the last 3 or 4 minutes we have just for questions.
Please.
And then I'm going to give you one more slide. And this slide is how you can get our exploratory sessions outline. I'm going to give that to everybody just for being on the webinar today. So thank you for being here. And let me just let you know how much I appreciate all of you as clients, people in our Workman database. You're valuable to us. We want you to know we're here to help. And if there's anything we can do to help you with your business, just reach out. And we're also going to give you a copy of our Daily Habits of Attraction. So we're going to give you a free copy of the new Daily Habits of Attraction and our exploratory sessions for agents, the outline, the questions that you ask in an exploratory session. So grab the QR code. I'll also ask my team to put it in the downloads. And I'm going to stop my share. And just open it up to any questions that you might have. Let me see if there's any questions that I didn't answer. I think, Jeff, you asked, we got yours.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions for us? Like, jump on in and ask us anything about JOLT. JOLT is $1997, so it's $2,000. And then every year we're going to update content to it. And so at the end of the year, there will be a subscription that's relatively inexpensive. It's like $99 a month. We have an introduction. We have an early adopters program. I'm looking for about 100 broker owners or team leaders that want to become raving fans and go through the program and literally do the work. And for those first 100 people that come into the program, we'll offer an introductory price of $13.99, so $13.97, so 30% discount if you want to jump into JOLT right now. We're also going to start and include a once a month JOLT live call. And so we'll have a community call where once a month it'll be Cleve or myself or one of our master coaches that are certified will come on and we'll answer questions and help you with your recruiting efforts. I believe that a big part of what's going to make this successful will be the community that we build around it. And so I invite you all to become part of our JOLT community. Would you like to have a community of other people that are struggling with the same things you are from a traction perspective and helping you with your competitive analysis and what's working and what's not working? We're going to create a community around that. We encourage you all to be part of that. Cleve, I'm not seeing any questions. You have any questions for me, Cleve?
No, Jeff says, please throw the action plans and summary link back up. Tell us, Jeff, specifically, what are you looking for? You just want to see the action plans? What?
No, somebody had popped up kind of next steps. It just came up on my screen and then there was a link and I didn't get to it quick enough.
Oh, next steps, meaning what you do next.
Yeah, it kind of appeared and then it went away.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I do have a question.
Perfect. And I think, April, that might have been something that you posted. Maybe hit it once again.
My question is, I'm the broker and owner, and if I sign up and then have a recruiter that I'd like to participate in the program, can I do that with my single purchase or what have you?
So it's a single user access. So if you're going to access that, I'm going to say use it. If you want to change it to the other person so they have the access, then we can switch that for you. Most people will just, like, we have people with multiple offices and multiple managers. You want each person to be able to go through it so you can track what they're going through and not going through, so you can see what they're doing. So I would give them their own access, but we'll work it out with you, Jeff, if you're going to get out of recruiting and hire a recruiter, which I think is a great idea. Wouldn't it be great to have somebody full-time just focused on attraction for you? Especially now that there's a system they can follow, right? There's a full-time job here, and a full-time recruiter could follow the system and have everything they need to succeed, from how to find the people to how to do exploratory sessions to how to onboard. We went over it really fast, but there's a 30, 60, 90-day onboarding process for each of the positions in your office, which is very powerful, and it's laid out of what to do with someone the first 30, 60, 90 days. One of our big goals with onboarding is to get them into production. The greatest retention is income. If your agents make some money, they'll stay with you longer. And so it's complemented by our other training programs like BAM, AMP, SLAM, and RAMP, our buyer agent mastery, listing agent mastery. If you're not licensing those for your brokerage, you may want to have a conversation with us about that. Just reach out. We're happy to talk to you about it as well. Any other questions from the group? Guys, I'm looking in the Q&A in the chat and I don't see anything. What do you guys think about JOLT? Are you excited about it? Are you excited to actually get it in your hands, Tony, and go through it? I love that. Harry's excited because he wrote it.
Yeah.
Love that. He wrote a lot of it. So we're excited to have you as part of the Workman Success family. Thank you for your engagement today. Thanks for being part of the JOLT launch. We're going to replay this webinar for those who registered and didn't have a chance to have access to it. Cleve, thanks for all your work, and all the Workman team who put so much effort and time into making this such a great program. Thank you all for all you do to make this great. Appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your week and rest of the summer. We'll talk to you soon. See y'all.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.